Imbued with his father's strong work ethic, Dick began working while in high school to earn extra income. Living on the East Coast where fishing was plentiful, he easily secured a job as a bait boy on a sport fishing boat which ferried tourists about an hour out from shore to realize their dreams of deep-sea fishing. The job entailed slicing open volumes of razor clams and tossing them into a bucket for use as bait, and untangling fishing lines of overzealous novice fishermen. Dick remembers, "What happens on a fishing boat is you go offshore, and they cut the engine, and the boat starts to bob. Everybody wants to be the first line off, and the guy would say, 'Don't throw the lines over, we're drifting and bobbing and still moving.' So of course the line goes down, and they get tangled. The first guy yells, 'I got one, I got one.' And the guy next to him yells, 'I got one, I got one.' And the crew just looks at each other and thinks, 'No, you got each other.' Then you have to pull the lines up, and untangling them is such a mess. The temptation is just to cut it and start all over, but no." After the initial rush of excitement of landing a fish, most of the tourists had no interest in actually taking it home to eat or having it stuffed and mounted as a souvenir. To avoid wasting freshly caught fish, Dick would often take one of the cod home to his mother, who would use it to make fish chowder, which was one of his father's favorite dishes. Some of the commercial fishermen regularly sent a gift from their daily catch home with Dick. He recalls, "My father was so beloved. I would walk along the docks and the lobster boats would come in. They all called me Little Doc. That was my nickname. The guy on a boat would say, 'Hey, Little Doc, here, take this home for Doc and the missus,' and he would throw it to me. He'd say, 'Now don't let the rabbi catch you, because of course lobster was not for Jewish people. You can't eat lobster.' My father was the stuff of legends in that town." Dick also worked for a time as a pin boy at the local bowling alley. The pins used in the area of eastern Massachusetts where he lived were candle pins, tall, narrow, and straight. He enjoyed the job, but it did pose some challenges. He remembers, "You'd go in and set the pins, and you had 2 lanes that you worked, so you jumped on the divider and hopped over. But here's the danger. Sometimes people put a ball in the other hand to balance. When you were working in one lane, you're listening to the other. You hear the first ball, you hear the second, and you hear the third. Without looking, you hit the barricade and vault over, but sometimes the bowler, who had thrown a bad third ball, with anger and frustration, fired a 4th one down. Whoa, man! Now you vault over and suddenly here comes a ball really fast and you get hit by the ball." It was no surprise when Dick began bowling as a hobby, and it was one at which he excelled. His father shared his passion, so they bowled in a league together. His father drove to the alley following his evening office hours, although at times Dick was forced to bowl in his father's stead when he was later at the office than usual. Dick recalls, "My father and I loved to bowl anchor. Anchor is the last bowler on the team. Sometimes it comes down to you bowling the last frame, and you need this specific score to win. I loved that. My pulse would go down. I would get very calm and confident that this is what it's all about. It's come down to me and I'm not going to fail. I like the responsibility. I want it to be on me. Put it on me and get out of the way. I never shirk responsibility. It's not like I embrace it, but the destiny is mine. The win is mine, the loss is mine, the responsibility is mine. It was on me." Later, this same trait would be an important factor in his success as a manager and agent. He says, "I love having the pressure on me. I'll be there. When I would be putting together a Buddy Guy tour or a Bonnie Raitt tour, and in my mind I had to carry the dates and the money and the capacity and the guarantee and the percentage, I was very calm. This was my job. This is what I do, and I do this better than anybody else. Everybody's running around, and I have the ability to say, 'Follow me. I'm okay. I'm calm. I'm in charge. I'm not flustered. I know what I'm doing.' You hunger for that moment, and you want it." Dick also was employed as a golf caddy at the Plymouth Country Club. Interestingly, the job led to the publication of his first article. Following the Plymouth Country Club Golf Championship, he penned a short article and submitted it to the Old Colony Memorial, a Plymouth newspaper. He says, "They printed it exactly as I wrote it, so I figured if those editors could look at my stuff and print it unchanged, then I might want to go this way with my career." Caddying was a good job for a high school student because he could earn as much as $5 to $6 for each round that was played. A double, which was a simultaneous caddying for two players, resulted in greater pay, but could also be a tremendous amount of walking if the players hit balls in opposite directions. Each day, Dick arrived at the caddy shack to wait for a golfer in need of a caddy. If a golfer found a caddy that they particularly liked, they would request him each time they played. Such was the relationship between Dick and Mr. Gray, a tall, dignified, friendly man with flawless hair and impeccably dressed in color-coordinated sweaters, pants, and shoes. They got on well together, and for a time, Dick had no inkling he was caddying for a famous swing band leader. Indeed, Mr. Gray was actually Glenn Gray, the leader of the Casa Loma Orchestra. He had retired a couple of years earlier, moved to Plymouth, and enjoyed golfing at the country club. When Dick eventually began to golf as a hobby, Gray became one of his golf partners. Years later, he sent a friendly note to Dick to stay in touch while Dick was in the military and stationed in Japan.